NFL is back. What is going on, guys? We are here to break down the Hall of Fame game showdown slate. We got Jacksonville. We got the Raiders. I'll do my best to kind of talk player by player. What can you expect for playing time? What position is maybe a little bit safer to target? What position is riskier to target? We'll do all that in this video. But first, real quick, I did want to thank everyone who reached out to me in previous video. It was definitely hard to make, but you guys made my day, made my week. So many people reached out, whether it be in the YouTube comment section, on Discord, on Twitter, via text message. So just wanted to thank everyone, seriously, and just know there's a lot of people going through similar stuff. So don't be afraid to reach out to someone. But like I said, NFL football is back, guys. Now, again, it's only the Hall of Fame game. It's probably not going to be a super exciting game to watch. As far as Vegas totals, it's a low score, projected to be low scoring game, as most of the Hall of Fame games have been. 30.5 point spread. The Raiders are currently 1 point favorites. But I will be offering Patreon content for the NFL preseason. We had a really good NFL preseason last year, hoping to keep that going. But wait, so I'll do my pitch of what you see from a majority of DFS content providers and your price pick, bro. So you guys ready for that? All right. Sign up for my content. Guaranteed winners, bro. Winners, winners, winners. That's all we do. We don't do losers. It's the best deal in the industry. Now here's my actual pitch. So, preseason DFS. It has definitely gotten tougher. Right? 5-6 years ago, you had starters that we knew were not going to play that were like 40% owned, right? So it's definitely gotten tougher. The field has gotten sharper, but there's still an edge, right? There's still an edge of, just deep dive into all these players, looking on Twitter, just trying to find any piece of news possible. Because there's just not many people that cover the preseason NFL. There's going to be a few sites that cover it, and they will sway the ownership. So there's a lot of variance in preseason DFS, and if a couple of the sites are really pushing a few players, well, you kind of know who's going to be popular, right? And I think that the good way to go about building a lineup is, I don't think you have to get too different. I don't think you have to play like 6 wide receivers or anything, but maybe get different in 1 or 2 spots from a few players that maybe aren't mentioned as much. So, and I'll do my best to break it all down for you guys. What's included in Patreon, roster construction videos, private live stream. We'll talk about everything right before up until lock, going over every single piece of news possible, player pool, Discord access, all that good stuff. So again, guys, there's no guaranteed winners. I'm not going to BS you, but if you are interested in signing up for the preseason package, it is linked down below. All right, so let's talk about, let's get into it. Also, Prize Picks, they don't have contest up for it yet, but they will have NFL preseason stuff. I would say probably maybe later tonight or into tomorrow. So if you guys are a new user, you can use the code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. I'll be tweeting out some plays, posting some plays in the Discord as well. So again, if you guys are interested, make sure to use that code. But let's get into it. So let's start off with the Jacksonville side. So let's go over what we know so far for Jacksonville. So Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne won't play. And CJ Beathard won't play as well. So that's pretty big news. Luton will start and play a lot, according to Coach Doug Peterson. So let's take a look at the depth chart. Oh, and then also the last thing I wanted to mention is with preseason DFS, so at least the first few games, defenses are definitely the safest position to target, right? They're going to be on the field the entire time, kind of followed by quarterback / running back, depending on, how deep they are the positions. Like, for example, Jacksonville, they're only going to have 2 quarterbacks playing in this game on Thursday. So I think both quarterbacks you can look to with confidence. And if, for example, like one team maybe only had like 3 healthy running backs, well, then you could go to those running backs with confidence. So they had like 8 healthy running backs, and then not so much. So you kind of get the idea there. The riskiest position to target, definitely wide receiver and tight end. Now, wide receiver is probably the position that has the most upside, but it's high risk. And there's so many wide receivers in every team that it's kind of like a shot in the dark. So I'm not saying you can't play the wide receivers. You can definitely still target some wide receivers. It's just going to be a lot riskier. They have a much, much lower floor. Okay, so as we said, at quarterback, no Lawrence, no CJ Beathard. So we got Luton starting, followed by USFL legend Kyle Sloter. So if you guys follow my USFL content, there's actually a few guys on this slate from the USFL. So Luton and Sloter, I think, are both very, very safe targets here. Would expect, maybe half and half, maybe even a little bit more for Luton. Again, we don't have specifics. He just said Luton's going to play a lot. So does that mean 3/4? Does that mean a half? Not sure. We might get more news on that as we get closer to game time on Thursday. Again, that'll be all posted over on Patreon as we get those updates. But I think Luton and Sloter, both good options. Sloter was really banged up in the USFL, so he couldn't run a lot. But he is a mobile quarterback. And, it's been, like at least a month since USFL is over. So maybe he's gotten healthier. Maybe he can provide a little bit of that rushing upside as well. Now, running back, again, no ETN. Don't expect James Robinson to play. Let's just take a look at the depth chart. So we actually have that up here somewhere. Here we go. So this was from yesterday. Jaguars tweeted out their depth chart. So if you look at running back, again, ETN, James Robinson, the top 2. They do have rookie Snoop Connor as number 3, and then kind of the rest of the running backs listed behind him. So, again, I don't expect, or ETN won't play. I don't expect Robinson to play. Then you have Snoop Connor, who has impressed in camp. If you take a look, I was looking at an article. Connor had a very, very good day the other day. Peterson was a little bit more reserved coach. He said it's only one day. You need to see back-to-back days, but from what I've seen on Twitter, he has impressed so far in training camp. So Snoop Connor, rookie running back, expect to get a decent chunk of work here. I think he makes for a pretty safe play. Now, here's the thing. Now, here's kind of like the GPP mindset. So I would assume these top sites like, Establish for Run and other sites like that, they're going to be pushing a guy like Snoop Connor. So he's probably going to be really popular. I'm not saying he's a bad play. Just know, he's a guy, rookie running back, that's probably going to get a lot of ownership. So, could you go to a Sargent instead of him for much less ownership? Sure, right? You definitely could. So, yeah, Connor definitely stands out. And then Armstead and Sargent are the other 2 running backs kind of fighting for the number 3 position. And again, I think Armstead and Sargent, Armstead 3rd-year veteran, Sargent 2nd-year guy, I think they get much less ownership, but expect them to get decent workload as well. So Armstead, Sargent, Connor, all the guys I'm looking to here at running back. Cottrell is the guy at the bottom of the depth chart. Again, he would probably be my last guy I would look to, but he also probably gets very, very little ownership on this slate. Now moving on to wide receiver. Again, wide receiver is just the tough part, right? Because like the Jags, let's see, how many wide receivers do they have? They have 13 wide receivers. Now, I've been doing some digging on everyone. Basically, what I've been doing is just Twitter searching every one of these wide receivers, trying to find out, just any kind of any piece of news. Have these guys been impressing in training camp? And again, looking at the depth chart, you have a couple guys that have made some impressions. Looking at Twitter and just from looking at this depth chart. So you have Tim Jones that is actually listed with the 2nd unit. Cotton. Kevin Austin listed with the 3rd unit. So I think those guys definitely viable. Tim Jones, again, I forgot to mention this too. Everyone's the same price, so price does not matter. We got Jones, Cotton, Austin. Those are all guys kind of working with the 2nd, 3rd unit. Those are all guys that expect to get a decent chunk of work here. Again, starters, I don't expect to play much at all. Maybe, some of these top-end guys get like 1 series, but we'll keep an eye on that. Definitely looking at more of the backups here at wide receiver. But like I said, high risk, high reward plays. Tight end, it's really hard to feel confident in any of these guys. Don't think we see much of Evan Ingram. I don't think we see a ton of Dan Arnold either. Manhurst is more the blocking tight end. And they still have 3 other tight ends on the roster. Just really hard to go there. Now the kicker certainly in play. Santoso, he's the only kicker on the roster. And then, like I said, the Jaguars defense. It's going to be a low-scoring game most likely. The defense is going to be on the field the entire game. Very safe play. I'm moving on to the Raiders. So the Raiders, like digging in on Twitter, there's not a ton out there right now, but I would expect the Raiders kind of play this the same as the Jaguars. They sit most likely a majority of the starters and maybe even some of the backups as well. So you have 4 quarterbacks on the roster right now in Carr, Mullins, Garbers, and Stidham. I would be shocked if Derek Carr plays. Nick Mullins is a veteran quarterback that I just don't think we need to see a ton from. So you might see a lot of Garbers and Stidham. Now, Stidham, if you guys remember preseason, like 2018, 2019, he was on the Patriots. He was a guy that I think I played like every single slate. He looked good out there a few years ago for the Patriots. He is a guy that does have some rushing upside. He put up some good stats in the preseason as well. So definitely intrigued by Stidham. Again, Garbers, I expect to get a good chunk of work as well. Maybe see a little bit of Nick Mullins, but like I said, I think we see a lot of Garbers and Stidham. Now, running back, like I said, there's not a ton out there right now. We'd be pretty surprised if guys like Jacobs and Kenny and Drake play. But looking at the rest of this roster, you have like veterans. So how much are these veterans going to play, right? Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden, those are guys that have been in the NFL for a while. Bolden, more of a special teams guy. Abdullah, a scat back, good pass catcher. But I'm not sure how much those guys are going to play. Now, you have rookie Zamir White, who another guy that if he ends up playing will probably get a good chunk of ownership. He was out for a bit, but he did return to practice a couple days ago. And when he's been out there, he has impressed. So definitely a guy that I like, assuming that he plays. I think a guy that will pick up a good chunk of ownership as well. And then you have Jacob Johnson, who's more of a fullback. And lastly, Britton Brown, who he was not at practice yesterday. So keep an eye on that. Like I said, we could have a situation where maybe the Raiders are thinner running back than we think. Again, there's a couple days until game time, and like I said, all these updates will be posted on Patreon. And then you have McCormick, who is on the IR there for the Raiders. Moving down to wide receiver. So, again, top-end guys like Adams, Renfro, don't expect them to play much. Keelan Cole, Robinson, Matt Collins, these are all guys that have impressed in training camp. They're all pretty high on the depth chart. If you take a look at the Raiders depth chart right now, you do have Adams, then Renfro, then Robinson, Keelan Cole, Matt Collins. So they're the top 5 guys. Again, Hollins, since he is the 5th guy right now, maybe he does see a little bit more work than those other 4 guys. So a little bit of interest there. And then you're kind of getting to the end of the bench guys. So some names that are familiar here. Tyrone Johnson, he was on the Chargers preseason last year. He's a guy that should get a good chunk of work here in this game. Would expect at least. Justin Hall, DJ Turner, viable as well. And then you have another name that you recognize from the USFL, Isaiah Zuber. He was pretty good for Houston in the USFL this year. So big body wide receiver. Again, expect him to get a decent chunk of work. So those are the receivers we'll probably look to there. And then, tight end. Don't think we see much of Waller at all or Foster Moreau. I'll mention, I think my favorite tight end play is probably Jacob Hollister, a guy that I think they have him listed number 3 right now on the depth chart. I still don't think I can pull the trigger on him. Yeah, he's number 3 on the depth chart. And they have 6 tight ends, so it's just really hard when you have usually only 1 tight end at the field at a time, maybe 2. So it's still going to be hard to target any of these guys. But I guess if they had to pick 1 tight end in the slate, it probably would be Hollister, who is a decent pass catching tight end. And then you have again kicker Daniel Carlson, totally fine playing him. Again, he'll have some opportunities. And finally, the Raiders defense, who again, they'll be on the field the entire game. So definitely a safe option. I forgot to mention, too, Austin Walter. He was picked up a couple days ago. He's more of a scat back, but expect him to get a good chunk of work in this game as well. So another viable option at running back there for the Raiders. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for the video. So like I said, if you guys are interested in the more in-depth content, go check out my Patreon listed down below. We'll be covering all the preseason NFL slates. And it's going to be a busy month, guys. We have preseason, there's games like Thursday to Sunday, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's slates every day. So going to be a lot of action for the preseason. It's going to be fun. Excited to watch these games. I'm excited for NFL to be back. So again, if you guys do enjoy these videos, just make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Appreciate all you guys. Really, really do. And I'll see you all in the next video.